Hey guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about how to reach out to suppliers on Alibaba step by step. Also, what it is we look for in a good supplier. And then we'll talk a bit about the exact supplier script that we use, which I will attach in the description down below. By the way, my name is Michael Elliott. I've been selling on Amazon for 5 years. In my first 2 years, I went about it on my own. I lost close to $10,000. It wasn't until about 2 years in where I started to see results. Fast forward to today, I've launched over 30 products. I generate multiple seven figures every single year, and I am currently in the process of launching a new brand as we speak. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first, I'm on Alibaba.com, and this is where we're going to reach out to 99% of suppliers when it comes to products that we're going to be getting made. The reason why is because there's typically not a point of us going US-based suppliers due to the increase in cost. And also, it's just more difficult to reach out to US suppliers in terms of getting a product made. Now, just sidebar with Trump's tariffs potentially coming in, we'll have to see if it's going to be beneficial to start getting more things made in the US or continue to get things manufactured in China. The reality is it's going to affect everybody. So if our prices do increase for getting products made here and we have to get products made in the US, naturally costs will increase for everyone. Therefore, we will also have to increase our prices to the consumers on Amazon for the products that we are selling. So technically, profit margins shouldn't be affected if you are worried about tariffs coming in. But let's get back into it. So I'm on Alibaba and I switch from products to manufacturers. And the reason why I do this is because it's going to ensure that we're looking up the most relevant suppliers for the specific product that we're wanting to get manufactured. So Alibaba essentially puts these suppliers through a number of different qualifications for them to be within this tab. And so we always want to search via manufacturers. And so for the example of this video, I'm just going to go bamboo cutting board. And what we're going to see are hundreds of different suppliers offering this exact same product, of course, with a number of different variations. And so what do we actually look for when it comes to the suppliers and who we're going to reach out to? So it's really not a lot. I ideally want to see at least 2 to 3 years of experience, which you can see right here. And it's a bit of a bonus if they are a verified supplier. The verified badge just means they've gone through a number of different qualifications in order to get that badge. You can click on it and see exactly what those are. But the suppliers you reach out to don't need to have a verified badge. It's just a bit of a bonus. I always tell people that the real way to find out if you have a good supplier or not is once you actually start communicating with them and, of course, ordering samples to inspect quality. So the initial reach out phase, I'm not super strict on what it is I'm looking for. So again, ideally 2 years of experience, and it's a bit of a bonus if they are a verified supplier. Now, what you're going to notice here are a number of different photos for each supplier, different variations, etc. And depending on the product that you are selling, you might be wondering, well, I don't know if they actually sell my specific variation or my specific product based on these photos. But you have to understand that these are simply just example photos. They, of course, make a lot more products, a lot more variations of the specific product you're looking at. And if you're unsure, what you can always do is actually click on the supplier itself. And this is then going to bring up their specific profile. So you can kind of dive deeper into who they are as a supplier, their experience, and the products that they manufacture. All suppliers will have a products tab, which you can see right here. If you click that, we can then see all of the different products that they manufacture. So when we click the See More tab, we can then see the different categories of products that they sell. And so in this case, we're looking at, our bamboo cutting boards. And so we can see all of the different kind of cutting boards that they actually manufacture. And so just beware that if you're unsure if they manufacture the product that you are looking to sell, you can click on their profile and look more into their specific products. Now, in terms of how we actually reach out to suppliers, Alibaba recently changed the interface of how this works slightly. And by the way, if any of you know how to add suppliers to your favorites list, this used to be something you could do in Alibaba, definitely let me know in the comments. But there used to be a little button that was a heart button, which you would add to a list of favorites so that you could reach out to multiple suppliers at once. For some reason, I don't know if they got rid of it or if there's another area. I've been searching for where that favorites tab is, but I cannot seem to find it. So in this case, how we're going to be reaching out at this point, it's just going to be individually. So we would click contact supplier, and then we would put in the specific message that we have, which I'll talk about in a second. So in terms of how many suppliers you should reach out to, I would suggest reaching out to around 20 to 30 suppliers. Because again, the goal is to reach out to multiple suppliers so that we can get an understanding of their communication, we can get a number of different prices, and then we can leverage those prices against the suppliers themselves. So if we get someone quoting us at $5 per unit, someone quoting us at $8 per unit. You can leverage those prices and those suppliers against each other as a negotiation tactic, which maybe we'll talk about in a separate video in terms of how to properly negotiate with suppliers. But for the purpose of this, we can start by looking through all of these different suppliers. And again, keeping in mind 2 years of experience. If they're a verified supplier, it's a bit of a bonus. And it pretty much looks like all of these suppliers meet that. So I would probably reach out to, honestly, every single one of these on the first page. And so let's just go over to this page where I have the supplier script and briefly talk about what is involved here, because this is what we're going to be sending out to the suppliers themselves. So it starts off by just introducing yourself and kind of establishing authority by saying you're the lead purchasing agent of the specific company, whatever your company name is, just to establish a bit of authority and show that you're experienced within this field. We're an international, whatever your niche is, based out of whatever location you're in. Even though I'm from Canada, I'll typically just say United States because that's usually where we're going to be selling. And this is where it gets really important in terms of how you want to communicate to the supplier with your initial message. You want to make sure you're very clear on exactly what it is you want so that your supplier can execute on manufacturing your product. And so put as many details as possible here. Try to know exactly what specifications your product is going to entail so that your supplier knows exactly what they need to manufacture. Now, if you're just reaching out and you're not exactly sure yet, maybe you're going to be asking them for, bonus items to provide to your main product. And so maybe you're not sure exactly how you want your product yet. Then you can ask them that in the questions too and say, hey, we're looking for bonus items for this product. Can you send me a list of the other products that you have in your portfolio to see? But if you know and it's a specific design change or color or whatever it is, specify that here and tell them exactly what you want. I also have in brackets, include photos of your products so that you can make it clear to your supplier. And then after this, we have a number of different questions. I have this as please enter your answers in red text beneath each question. This was typically when I would have them reach out to me outside of Alibaba, but I would actually say you can erase this because it's easy just to communicate them within one platform on Alibaba instead of trying to, have yourself communicate with them externally. So the first one is about samples. Can we get a sample of the product? How much is it going to cost, including DHL express shipping, and then to your address specifically? You also want to ask, will it be refunded upon the mass order? Because typically you can get a refund on your sample cost once you go through with the big order. We then just ask, do they have the ability to do, custom packaging with the UPC barcode on it? Number 3 is what is the cost of the product per unit, including the custom packaging and DDP shipping for an MOQ, which means minimum order quantity, and DDP is just basically, it means delivery duty paid, but it basically means your cost of product plus shipping included, so everything. And we asked them to compare 500 and 1,000 units. Again, this just shows that you're serious about this business venture. You want to compare, what is the cost going to be for 500 versus 1,000. The more you order, the cheaper the cost per unit will be. So sometimes it can actually be worth it to start with 1,000 units if it's going to be a lot cheaper. We then talk about how long is it going to take to manufacture and package 500 versus 1,000. And then you will send off this script to those suppliers. Now, I have this in red text down here. This isn't a part of the script, but this is just for you guys to use. This is a filler address that you can use for now so that you get a quote on the DDP pricing. Because in order for them to quote you on pricing, they need to know where they're shipping. So this is just a random Amazon FBA warehouse, and you can give them this address right here for the DDP shipping address so that you can get a quote. Now, a bit of a side note, typically you're going to work with a freight forwarder just because freight forwarders are usually going to be more affordable, but it's still worth it to get a quote from your supplier to see what their shipping is like. I will also drop our freight forwarder's number in the description below so you can reach out to them. So I would take this, and obviously you have to fill it out specific to your product and your specifications, name, company, brand, etc. But I would copy this and then I would paste it into the contact supplier. So I paste it into the contact supplier here, and then I'd send it off. Again, unfortunately, I do not see the option to where you can add these to favorites and send them out to a list. So as of right now, you'll just have to do it individually, but still pretty quick to send them out to 20, 30 different suppliers. And then you should start receiving quotes back. So once you start receiving quotes back, I just want to briefly cover what it is we look for when it comes to suppliers. So first is communication. Second is lead time, which is how long it takes to make a product. And then the third thing, of course, is price. So when you have 20 to 30 suppliers, first of all, not all of them are going to respond right away. If they don't, I would follow up and give them another chance to make sure that they do respond. Some suppliers won't have super in-depth answers from your initial inquiry. You'll also have to follow up and make sure they go into more detail on that. These are just little things that you'll notice. which I've experienced. So just little things you can be prepared for if you're confused why someone doesn't answer you or why someone didn't answer your questions that you asked initially. Just follow up and stay persistent. If that happens multiple times, then they're probably not a good fit. But communication is huge. Of course, response time and actually being able to communicate with these suppliers. How bad is the language barrier, et cetera? Usually it's not too bad. Of course, these suppliers are working with a lot of people all over the world. So they're typically pretty good in terms of being able to speak English or potentially other languages. Now, in terms of lead time, you ideally want the fastest lead time, right? The faster to market you can get, the better. But you'll also have to compare that against, pricing and communication too. And then the last thing, like I said, is price. Of course, we want the best price possible. And so negotiating is a big part of this. Like I said, maybe I'll talk about that in a separate video. You can let me know in the comments below. But price is a huge thing as well. Now, I would suggest narrowing down 20 to 30 suppliers down to your top 2 to 3 based on those 3 things, based on communication, lead time, and price. And once you've done that, it is then time to order your samples. And once you order samples, now you're inspecting quality. And so to make your final decision on who you're going to go ahead with once you've ordered samples, now it's going to be based on not only communication, price, and lead time, it will also be based on quality, which in my opinion is the most important factor. So you have to start to take all of those things into account. If someone has a higher price but their quality is better, is it going to be worth it for you to go ahead with them in the long run? Probably. But if they're so much higher to where it really destroys your margins and it doesn't make sense to sell, then maybe not. So you kind of have to use your common sense when you get into the finalizing stages of who you're going to work with on the supplier. But again, quality is what matters most long term. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below and make sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.